beautiful British birds are a much treasured addition to the nation's countryside. Not that they're exclusive to rural landscapes. Town and city dwellers are also treated to a close-up and personal view of these feathered delights that really are the most tangible link with wildlife enjoyed by the modern-day Brit. For some species of bird, a friendly association with humans is positively welcomed. For others, it's avoided at all cost. Needless to say, for the average bird watcher, or twitcher as they're often affectionately known, it's the rare bird that's most desired. Keeping a record of birds that have been spotted can get to be a fairly competitive business, but there's nothing that can match the satisfaction of catching sight of a rare specimen and being able to make an accurate identification from just the briefest of glimpses. Watching birds is an occupation that usually begins early in childhood, as household food scraps are thrown out onto lawns and patios in the hope of drawing in species like the blackbird, sparrow, and the beautiful red-breasted robin for the entertainment of the youngsters. In harsh winters, just this simple recycling of what would otherwise go to waste will ensure the survival of a number of species, which is really good news for the more delicate birds that grace the gardens of Britain. No matter how you get started watching birds, one thing's for certain, it's very addictive. So don't say that you haven't been warned. It's amazing how quickly people move from scattering out a few crumbs on a regular basis to constructing a bird feeder, or bird table as it's more commonly known in Britain, and erecting nesting boxes. What's more, the birds will quickly and enthusiastically show their appreciation for such efforts, flocking into gardens each day to see what there might be on offer. Although drawing birds into a location where you can see them day by day is wonderful, giving you a real understanding of a bird's hectic lifestyle, in a country like Great Britain, where even the most dedicated city slicker can reach parks and woodland with relative ease, one of the great delights of birdwatching comes from getting out and about to see different species in their natural habitat. If you're prepared to pull on walking boots and wander the many fabulous footpaths of the countryside, the rewards are endless. This is Yorkshire, in the north of England, where the Pennine Way, one of Britain's best-loved footpaths, leads visitors over the moors to a countryside where wildlife can flourish undisturbed by heavy traffic and pollution. You can only reach such a classic beauty spot as this on foot, and with clear air and good visibility, it's about as good as it gets. So don't forget the binoculars and the camera. Here's a completely different type of location, showing off the tranquil beauty of a bluebell wood. Bluebell flowers only carpet woods like these for a very brief spell, with a blue haze and intoxicating perfume greeting anyone who passes this way. To stand and listen to the birdsong is remarkable, and as the migrant cuckoo, famous for laying its eggs in the nests of other birds, arrives in Britain just as the bluebells come into bloom, it's definitely worth listening out for the distinctive cuckoo cry, heralding for many country folk the onset of British summertime. For many of Britain's indigenous species, woods like these are the perfect environment, with food, shelter and top-notch nesting sites in abundance. Learning to walk quietly through woodland will provide you with great birdwatching opportunities, but you must listen carefully for calls and birdsong and watch attentively for the flutter of wings. The varied coastline of Britain is also a very worthwhile location for birdwatchers to visit. Seagulls may well be the noisy thought that immediately springs to mind, but the coastal footpaths and wide, flat estuaries where rivers meander to meet the sea will reveal a whole host of splendid bird life. Here at Weymouth, East England, a great deal of thought has gone into creating nature reserves for bird watchers from all over the world to enjoy. But don't get the idea that bird watching in Britain is a fair weather activity. It's very definitely an all year round occupation. As the seasons change, so do the bird populations the length and breadth of the country. Spring and summer will bring the species that spend the cold winter months in Mediterranean climates, bringing a splash of colour and hope of long, hot, sunny days to come. Sadly, the British summer doesn't always live up to this promise, but when it does, with birds in profusion gracing a glorious blue-skied, cloudless day, there's no better place on earth for a bird watcher to be. The winter might bring cold winds and snow, but for the migrant birds from the Arctic, the more southerly latitudes of the British Isles can be very inviting. Winter visitors do tend to be geese, ducks and swans, but they're spectacular in flight and are a much appreciated reward for the well-chilled birdwatcher that's ventured out on a cold winter's day. This programme is entitled British Country Birds, but the town dweller or holiday maker that's based in a city needn't feel that they're excluded from bird watching. This is the elegant city of Bath in the southwest of England. Just like every urban environment, there are very built-up areas that'll be limited in the number of bird species that can actually be counted as resident. But thanks to conservation programmes by town and city planners, things are improving greatly. This is Bath's Royal Crescent, a stunning architectural achievement from the past, preserved with the greatest of care. But notice how much effort has also gone into caring for the green spaces all around, as well as neighbouring parks, not only full of flowers but also fine trees, which are a positive haven for so many bird species. Bird watching is without doubt a skill that becomes well honed with practice, and as you've just witnessed, it matters little where in Britain you find yourself. Birds are all around. It doesn't take very long for people to become in tune with bird movements and the various different species. At first, you may find yourself able to subcategorise any bird you see, for example recognising that you're looking at a member of the tit family or one of the finches. With time comes the ability to recognise whether it's a blue tit or a great tit that you're observing, but practice will make perfect, and of course there's nothing quite so satisfying as knowing you've got it right. Having enjoyed a brief taste of what's on offer to the birdwatcher that's already acquired a good understanding of British bird species, it's time to sharpen up on those identification skills. As with any quest for knowledge, it's best to start with the basics and the birds that regularly appear in the majority of backyards at garden bird feeders. Even without the benefit of a garden, just a window ledge will be an equally good place to put food out for the birds. And OK, you won't attract some of the rarer species that you'll get to see in this programme, but you never can tell what might turn up. Besides, the house sparrow and chaffinch, for example, are two of the most common species to be found in Britain, but they're no less beautiful or attractive to watch simply because they're in abundance. To up your chances of seeing specific species of birds, putting food out is a very successful activity. Also, providing fresh water all year round is of vital importance, not only for drinking, but also for bathing, a delightful sight for anyone lucky enough to witness this most frenetic piece of bird activity. A bird feeder or bird table needs to be located with care. First and foremost, you want to be able to see what's going on without disturbing the birds that they're feeding. You also need to appreciate that birds will approach even the most sumptuous banquet of their favourite food with the greatest of caution. Plenty of bushes, tree branches, fence posts, or even a washing line strung across the garden will provide perches for the birds to sit upon as they decide whether to trust the situation. Some birds are more dominant than others, and there is a distinct pecking order, with the less assertive species having to sit and wait their turn before they attempt to take your offerings. As well as putting food out on a flat surface, hanging nuts, seeds, and the bizarre concoction of birdie treats that is a fat ball will attract species that would otherwise shy away. Regularity of food supply will definitely improve your chances of bird spotting, with early morning and mid-afternoon replenishment proving most effective. Particularly during the winter months, birds will expend a huge amount of energy at night just keeping warm, so a good breakfast is really appreciated, and topping them up again for the chilly evening as the sun sets will help them to maintain their body temperature. You must also understand that birds fed in this way for any length of time will come to rely upon you. Consequently, you have to be prepared to take responsibility for your actions. Once you've started, it would be unfair to stop feeding them just as the cold weather begins and bird life gets very tough. It's possible to scale down feeding in the summer months, as alternative food supplies are then plentiful. So, what do you actually feed the birds? As mentioned earlier, the most common starting point is breadcrumbs, which are perfectly acceptable, but not a particularly nutritious type of food. Wholemeal bread has much greater food value, which is of course equally as true for humans as it is for the birds. The next progression is invariably to seed mixes that can be bought from pet stores. Sunflower seeds are a great favourite, and black sunflower seeds are in a league of their own as an attractor and will make you extremely popular with your new feathered friends. Fruit and nuts, especially peanuts, will always be of great value when it comes to enticing birds into your gardens and keeping them there. Finches are notorious for disappearing off to the countryside at harvest time in search of berries and fruit, so adding a generous supplement of windfall and apples to your bird table will certainly help to keep them in view.